In the final years of the Sith Empire's great ascendancy, when the dark sciences of alchemy flourished in secrecy and ambition, there existed laboratories hidden far from the eyes of the Republic and from the Jedi, ancient chambers of experimentation, vast shadowed sanctuaries where the boundaries of life were neither respected nor observed. Within these forbidden halls, Sith alchemists labored over creations that defied any natural order. Flesh was reshaped, bone was reforged, instinct was rewritten beneath the oppressive weight of the dark side and new purpose. Among such abominations, none were regarded with greater reverence than the Warworm. The Warworm is not a numerous creation, but they were never intended to be either. Each Warworm represented an undertaking of staggering complexity, an alchemical endeavor so demanding, so ruinously costly, that even the Sith Empire at the height of its power could produce only a rare few. They were the crown jewel of Sith siege warfare, living monuments to domination through terror. Their bodies were colossal beyond proportion, vast coils of alchemically reinforced muscle encased within layers of impossibly dense, mineral-hardened flesh. Their hides bore the appearance of armored stone rather than organic tissue, surfaces that absorbed and diffused energy with unnatural resilience. Blaster fire scattered harmlessly. Conventional weapons were futile. Even the Jedi's most iconic instrument of war, the lightsaber, struggled to find its mark against such monstrous biology. Energy blades that cleaved through durasteel and severed limbs with surgical precision faltered against the worm's impenetrable hide, their incandescent arcs carving only shallow wounds across the flesh engineered specifically to endure it. To confront a Warworm was to confront something the Jedi Order had scarcely imagined was possible. This was an alchemical siege engine. Greetings, lore junkies, and welcome back to the archives. Today we will continue our series on Sith spawn. We have briefly covered the Terentitech. We also plan on covering the Techno Beasts and the Leviathans of the ancient eras. So if you've been enjoying our breakdown and analysis on these ancient Sith weapons and beasts, then reach out and crush that subscribe button to join our order today. It is your destiny. To kill a Sith Warworm, legends would whisper of extraordinary measures required to halt such monsters. Combined torrents of energy unleashed by multiple Jedi working in desperate unison. Cataclysmic bombardments. Weapons of the Republic of overwhelming magnitude. It was only through devastation of their own could devastation be resisted. When the Sith unveiled their Warworms to the Republic, they transformed the very nature of warfare at the time. They slumbered beneath the earth like buried cataclysms, vast coils of reinforced muscle winding through subterranean darkness. Entire landscapes concealed their presence. Their arrival was rare, but it was always felt first. A deep, unnatural shudder rippled through stone and soil alike. What followed was a violent upheaval as the creature surged upward. Earth and debris erupted skyward. Shockwaves tore through defensive lines. Fortifications lost their foundation. Battlefields became unstable realms of terror and chaos. Massive defensive structures crumbled. Formations dissolved. And from the shattered ground, the worm finally revealed itself. Whispers preserved within fractured archives and forbidden teachings later suggest that the Warworms did not emerge from nothing though. Their origins are in something far older, something improbable, the species known as an exogorth. These vast silicon-based predators drifting silently through asteroid fields and void dark expanses. They were among the galaxy's most enduring anomalies. Creatures sustained by radiation and mineral consumption, their immense bodies shaped by environments where life itself seemed impossible. But in them, the Sith saw great potential. Through the grotesque artistry of alchemy, the ancient biology foundation was seized and remade. Natural growth became engineered magnitude. Passive hunger became relentless aggression. Survival instinct was weaponized. What had once drifted through the cold silence of space was transformed into something bound to devastation. And among these creatures, one specimen would come to eclipse all others. The Alpha Worm. Yet this apex abomination did not fully ascend until after the Great Hyperspace War, when the Sith shattered remnants and knowledge were scattered, giving rise to darker refinements. But even before this final evolution of the Warworm, the worms had already carved their territory into history. The worms were unleashed upon the Republic's most sacred and precious world, Coruscant. Across the endless cityscape where towers pierced the heavens and civilizations layered upon civilizations, the ground itself convulsed beneath unimaginable forces. Districts collapsed without warning. Foundations were shattered. Entire structures vanished into sudden, catastrophic voids. The Warworms tore through city and landscape, Durasteel fortifications buckled, urban sectors fractured. Panic rippled outward as waves of the Republic's unassailed capital was forced to confront a horror no doctrine had prepared them for. This was a complete upheaval. For the Jedi, the Warworm and creatures like it stirred echoes of the past, of old heresy, while the Sith war machine wielded other instruments of terror, monstrous creations, technological horrors, and engines of planetary annihilation. Few matched the Warworms in sheer open devastation. Attacks from Terminus ravaged Jedi lines, Leviathans consumed their energy, but the Warworms unraveled the entire battlefield. What was once a distant biological hunger within the Exogorth was stripped of all natural balance, reforged into an alchemical siege engine capable of shattering vast technological fortresses. In the end, it was not the Republic that Naga Sadow had misjudged though. It was inevitably himself. For all of the terror of his creations, for all of the grotesque triumphs of alchemy, the Dark Lord's campaign faltered beneath forces that he had not foreseen. The Republic endured, the Jedi resisted, and within the fractured hierarchy of the Sith, ambition was turned inward. Ludo Kresh did not stand beside Naga Sadow. He stood against him. Betrayal, cold and decisive, fractured what remained of Sith unity. Caught between the relentless pressure of the Republic and the treachery of his rival, Naga Sadow was driven into retreat. With what remained of his Massassi followers, his shattered fleets, and the remnants of a dying empire, Sadow fled into the depths of the Outer Rim, to Yavin 4. There, amid the suffocating jungles and ancient stone, exile was now sanctuary. But sanctuary would transform into a laboratory. Upon his arrival, Naga Sadow was presented with something wholly unforeseen. Drawn by the radiation and energy signatures of his wounded vessel, a vast exogorth had attached itself to his ship's hull, a silent, monstrous passenger carried across the void, clinging to the Dark Lord's last refuge. At first, its fate seemed certain, an inconvenience to be purged, a creature to be destroyed. But exile had changed Naga Sadow. Where another may have eradicated the beast, Naga Sadow saw a possibility. Within the immense alien biology of the Exogorth, he perceived the raw material for something greater, something worthy of his mastery. And so, his work began. Time, isolation, and the grotesque sciences of the dark side converged upon the creature. Flesh was reinforced, its instincts amplified. Growth was liberated from natural constraint. Hunger was weaponized. What emerged was something worse. An alpha Sith guardian worm, a creature made in exile. Across the jungles of Yavin, the creature moved. Its colossal body slithered through dense foliage and ancient ruins alike, an immense coiling presence that reshaped the land with every subterranean passage. The ground trembled in its wake, structures fractured. Entire stretches of terrain bore silent testimony to its endless search for sustenance. Where life existed, the worm fed. Where resistance started, it crushed. And where silence lingered, it waited in the dark jungle. It answered to no chain, no command structure, no mechanical restraints, only to power. Only the power of Naga Sadow. For a time, the worm stood as the Dark Lord's greatest protector, a monstrous sentinel roaming the shadowed wilderness, an embodiment of Sith dominion over flesh. But even as the echoes of the Sith Empire faded into ruin, another came seeking the forbidden legacy of the past. A challenger, a prodigy, a being whose destiny would intertwine with the ghosts of the ancient empire. When he arrived on Yavin 4, he was drawn by whispers of lost knowledge and power. But Naga Sadow did not greet him with teachings. He greeted him with a trial, the only test worthy of a true Sith. To face the Guardian Worm. The name of the one who walked into the crucible of terror was Exar Kun. While Naga understood the magnitude of the creature's power, he understood the brutal truth of the encounter. Should this Sith hopeful survive what loomed before him, survival would demand something beyond mastery, beyond discipline, beyond anything the Jedi or Sith of the Great Hyperspace War were ever able to achieve. The worm could not be defeated by mere elegance or technique. Its alchemically hardened hide rendered lightsaber strikes maddeningly inefficient. Victory would require something more. And so the struggle began. Exar Kun did not duel the worm. He merely attempted to outlast it. And it nearly killed him. Under the overwhelming pressure of the encounter, Exar Kun was driven towards the precipice of annihilation. Strength bled from him. Control fractured. The familiar boundaries imposed by Jedi discipline collapsed beneath the sheer, unforgiving reality of the worm's relentless pursuit and advance. And in this crucible, restraint died. What emerged was something else. Raw, unfiltered, simple. It was power. Exar Kun unleashed the dark side in a torrent of a catastrophic force, an eruption of energy that shook the temple. The air convulsed, stone fractured around them. The worm may have experienced something it never had before. Fear. It recoiled beneath a barrage of devastation unlike anything it had ever seen. The assault pushed Exar to the brink of collapse. It drained him to the edge. The effort threatened to consume him entirely, to shatter his body and his mind alike. But finally, the worm faltered. Its vast form convulsed. Its monstrous momentum finally broke beneath the sheer magnitude of Exar's unleashed fury. This is the moment where Exar Kun was no longer a Jedi or a darkside adept. Exar Kun proved himself Sith. The Guardian Worm lay in ruin, and in the wake of this impossible victory, Exar turned not only against the beast, but also against its creator. Believing he had conquered the Dark Lord's greatest weapon, Exar Kun would soon cast down the spirit of Naga Sadow himself, severing yet another remnant of the ancient empire. But now that we've covered its story, let's take a look at its anatomy. Its elongated subterranean adapted body is comprised of vast coils of crushing muscle, capable of generating catastrophic force. Vehicles crumble, terrain fractures, and the creature does not simply traverse any environment, but it actively reshapes it. At the forefront of the organism lies its most horrifying adaptation though, the maw. Its mouth is vast and circular, lined with concentrated rings of serrated teeth, each layer moving with mechanical precision. Prey drawn inward is subjected to overwhelming pressure. Its feeding behavior is relentless. It is driven by alchemically amplified predatory instinct. The Warworm consumes virtually anything in its path, from organic matter to metallic structures, living beings. Its hunger is not selective or strategic, but it is constant. Nihilists would love these things. The unrestrained biology drive is precisely what renders the Warworm one of the Sith's most devastating weapons. Unlike the Sith fleets, it can't be reasoned with. Unlike any soldiers, it won't be demoralized. Unlike machines, it cannot be disabled, but it only advances. It is a trump card, made to break stability. Perhaps most remarkable though, is the creature's resilience. It is extremely durable. Damage that would annihilate lesser organisms merely slow it down. To fight a Warworm is to engage in a battle of attrition against something designed explicitly to outlast. The worm is among the most difficult Sith spawn creations ever engineered. The only thing more difficult than creating a Warworm is killing one. For Sith, they are the apex of biology, living siege engines, engines of war, manifestations of destruction. But the Warworm is only one of the expressions of this dark art. Beyond it existed creations of even greater scale, even greater terror for Jedi. Creatures designed not to devastate battlefields, but to break worlds. Next, we plan on covering the Sith Leviathans. So if you enjoy our documentation on the Warworms and other Sith spawn, be sure to like this video and suggest other creatures in the comments below. We aim to explore countless monstrosities born from Sith corruption and alchemy. But now, my friend, the holocron closes. What are your thoughts on the Sith Warworm, the siege engine of the old empire? As always, may the Force serve you in all of its forms, and I hope you're having a great day.